Llanigorse Park in North Wales, within the foothills of Snowdonia National Park, is the venue for round 5 of the Stevenage Sheet Metal Super 1 British Karting Championships.
Super 1 was the first motorsport series in the world to film using a drone camera on a regular basis, starting in 2013. Recently, we acquired the new Inspire 1 aircraft, which features a 4K camera and some amazing light bridge technology, making it much easier for the pilot and camera operator to see exactly what the camera sees on the remote screen. But in this environment, it's doubly important to be sure that the safety features actually work. And this weekend, prior to racing, UAV licensed pilot Alan Taddyeye demonstrates the fail-safe system on the drone.
In recent years, camera drone technology has revolutionised the television and film industry. Many of the aerial shots you see today on TV and in the movies are taken by camera drones such as the one you see here. It's the Inspire 1, which has a very small 4K camera attached. Now, the technology involved in this includes GPS navigation software, which once it takes off will maintain the aircraft's position in 3D space and fix its altitude. So once the sticks are centered and I'm not moving them, literally wherever the aircraft is at that point, it will just hover, irrespective of what the wind's doing. In wind speeds of up to 25 miles an hour, it will literally stay very still, and the images that you see from the camera, because of the gimbal that the camera is attached to, are perfectly still, almost like a photograph. Now today we're here to test the fail-safe system. With this aircraft, as with all the drones these days on the camera drones, they have a fail-safe system within the software, so that if it loses the signal from the transmitter, if the battery goes dead or for any other reason, it will literally, in this case, rise up to 100 feet. It will come back to the position it took off from. It knows that because we set the position where it's taking off from prior to the flight taking place. It will come back to where it took off from. It will lower the landing gear and it will literally land itself with no human interaction whatsoever. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to take off, going to fly just beyond the trees here, and then I'm going to turn the transmitter off purposely, so it will literally have no signal. That's something you wouldn't have done a few years ago because any radio controlled aircraft would have simply crashed. I'm going to turn the transmitter off and then we're going to see what happens. Hopefully it should rise up, come back and land itself automatically. So I'm going to start by taking off. I'm going to take off using the iPad here, the software on the iPad, just simply by swiping. Now the aircraft will rise up to 4 feet. You can see the landing gear coming up. I'm not touching the sticks. I haven't initiated the takeoff. It's all been done from within the software. It's now basically sitting there waiting for me to make a decision. So I'm literally going to turn the nose of the aircraft this way. We'll rise up and we'll fly away beyond the trees. So there you go. So we'll hold it there. So again, I'm not touching the sticks on the transmitter, it's hovering. I can tell from this that it's hovering at 47.6 feet and it's a distance away from me of 248 feet currently. So here we go then. We're going to take our life in our hands. I'm going to turn the transmitter off, which on this transmitter you have to press the buttons twice, and then we're going to see what happens with the aircraft. So once, twice. That is the transmitter now turned off completely. The aircraft is now turning around to face us. It's rising up. It should reach around about 100 feet, which is twice the altitude it was at. That's 100 feet now. There's nothing on the transmitter screen at all. It says disconnected. It's flying back It's now going to hover overhead until it fixes its position. And it will bring the landing gear. The landing gear's now come down. You won't probably see that on the camera at the moment, but the landing gear is down and it is slowly descending to the position from which it took off. And it should land, typically from the test that we've done, it should land within 2 meters, if not exactly, where it took off from. So you can see it's coming down to land. I'm not controlling it, it's literally controlling itself. And it's landed, and that's the fail-safe test complete. Now, in any motorsport event, you want to be sure that you're competing on a level playing field with all the other competitors, and karting's no different. Earlier, I spoke to the MSA's Technical Commissioner for Karting about his role in the sport.
My role basically depends on what meetings I'm at, but for Super 1 I'm actually an eligibility scrutineer as well. That gives me the rights to check any engine over whenever we want to do it. Obviously I can instruct others to do it as well. It also allows me at any time to check any engine for other scrutineers as well. That's the technical commissioner side of it. So when we're at a Super 1 meeting, if I make a decision on an engine being ineligible, it is the final result, then it would just go to the MSA as a EAP, because he cannot go any further than the commissioner.
The issue of manipulating centrifugal clutches by making them slip several years ago was a problem, not now with this technology.
It's a very simple system that we use, which is called the Unilogger. The Unilogger is based on a little box which takes collects all the data, which is from the engine speed, the axle speed, and actually puts the two together. So what you should have is an overlapping map between the speed and the rear axle speed. If you don't get that through the system, you get a red light coming on rather than a green light. When we then analyse it on the computer, it will actually show a break in the lines, and if you get a clutch slip, it will actually take the engine RPM away from where the axle speed is. So you get a complete break in the two systems, and then we know this clutch has either been machined, it's got oil on it, or a solution of some sort.
So for anyone watching this thinking this is just kids racing around a circuit, it's a little bit more complex than that, isn't it, to make sure that it's a level playing field at this level of competition?
Yeah, I mean, not only that, I mean, it's the expense that John's had to go through to actually produce the equipment. I know full well you're talking of excess of about £25,000 just to stop the clutch slips alone.
Okay, and just finally, just to clarify for those dads, mechanics and engine tuners out there, if somebody comes in and you ask them to take a part out of an engine, for example, is it fair to say that the part you want to inspect is something that was in the engine during that race and not something they just happen to have lying in a toolbox or maybe in their pocket?
It's a definite no-no when somebody takes something out of their pockets or anything like that. It's a question of, that's what's commonly known as palming components. It goes back many, many years. And of course we want to see what's in the engine. It can't produce a 250 100cc piston or a 160 piston in certain classes and then have a 250 engine that's floating around. It has to be what you're using at the time when you're racing.
Let's have a quick look at the virtual map of Glanigorse Park. Through the start line into turn 1, the Dragon Straight 220 metres with that dog leg. The right-hander is blind into the spoon, left-handed down Damon Hill, big elevation change through the carousel, the compression complex, 3 right-handers into Devil's Elbow and down to the final turn. The first race up after the break is for KZ1, the official MSA British Championship class for seniors. Henry Easthope, the British champion, had a nightmare at the last round, but after a failure of the mechanical kind, he had a message for the other competitors. Easthope, the former junior world champion in KF class.
Easthope's got a problem!
He's pulling off.
He was closing in on the leader.
I'll be back.